Hey there, it's Jess Fraser, and welcome to another episode of Your Inner Vitality. I'm calling to all the dreamers out there, the ones wanting to disrupt the usual and make change. We're talking all things self-care, worth, confidence, goals, and the importance of showing up for yourself so you can show up for those dreams and others too. Remember, it's not about the magic that we create together here, but what you do with it outside. So let's continue this conversation at Your Inner Vitality Community Facebook group. The link is in today's session notes. But until then, let's hanker in for another good session. Let's just dive right into this episode's focus, where we are going to be working less and traveling more. Yes, I know that this could very much feel like an oxymoron, and I fully acknowledge and recognize that for you, that working is what keeps the meals coming onto the table and sustains our lifestyle that we've built for ourselves. So working less may not always feel like a possibility, which could also be a question that I'd ask you is, how are you doing with traveling? Or adventuring, or getting in your relaxation? If this is a struggle for you, this episode is for you. I'm going to start off with helping you see this particular focus in a slightly different way. Work requires energy of us, and it will consume the energy that we put into it. And the travel component is, where do we get the replenishment for all the energy we put out when it comes to work? So that is the area that I want to really sit with and focus for you, is how well are you doing with replenishing yourself? And this will be for relaxation or adventure or reconnecting and staying connected with family and friends. And even for yourself and doing the things that you just really enjoy getting lost in time with. Now that I have addressed really where we're coming from with this episode focus, I want to go through a little bit of what we will be tapping into today. We're going to talk about micro breaks. We're going to talk about the value of going on a date. We're also going to talk about PA days. If you're a parent, how can you make those PA days not stressful days, but actually days that you and everybody else is looking forward to? And then I'm going to also put a little bit of space and time in here for two, if you are a solopreneur or an entrepreneur. Because one thing I'm going to just hold some space for you too in this episode is that work never turns off. Now, I know in the corporate world that can also very much be the same. But this episode, we are going to talk about turning it off. Now let's talk about mini breaks, shall we? Or the micro breaks. This is where you have low commitments of time that you can go either for a day trip or a day or two away from home, or even just a mini staycation at the house. There are so many values and benefits to this. One, it may not be as tricky or as hard to maybe coordinate, especially if you're having other people be a part of the adventure. It is also a lot less demanding price-wise, typically, when it comes to smaller times and breaks and adventures that you're going to put together. And it gives you an opportunity to look forward to something coming up. So typically you would plan something like this micro break out, whether it's a couple of weeks in advance or a couple of months in advance. It doesn't matter what craze is happening in your world, what ebbs and flows are happening. This is something that will consistently be getting closer and closer to you, knowing that, hey, you're going to have some time to replenish and spend on you, or reconnecting or adventuring, whatever that needs to be. Micro breaks are important and should be something to consider to do frequently throughout the year, maybe every couple of months if you possibly can. This is also going to kind of trickle into date night. Now, date night can be with your partner, but it can also be with friends from work. It could also mean that quality time you're going to spend with one of your children. point of a date night or time together is an opportunity to reconnect and be fully present with one another and the things that each other are going through in that moment in time. How has everything been going? What are you wanting to plan out? Maybe there's big discussions of things that you're preparing for in the future. Maybe there's some things you should be celebrating too. And remember, celebrations can be small. Celebrate the milestones, not just the end destination, my friend. One thing that one of my therapists about a year ago had suggested to me, and I thought, oh, this is a really cool idea. And I don't even know truthfully what it's called, but let's just call it the dating hierarchy. This is where you make a point to have a date once a week with that person that's really important to you. So we're going to talk more about, say, you and your partner with this dating hierarchy. And once a week that you are taking a dedicated time to have a date night. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of money. It can really be as simple as going for a walk. It's an opportunity of time where you are spending quality time with one another and not necessarily just sitting in front of the TV. So that's your first level of your dating hierarchy. The next one is a weekend away. Now, you can also be very creative with this. Maybe this means you go and meet the parents and you stay with them for a weekend, or you could be cursing me for even suggesting that. But the idea is you're stepping away from your everyday responsibilities and you're taking some time for yourselves. This could mean that maybe you do a more of a longer day trip once a month. You go on a little bit of a mini road trip for the day and you revisit maybe old pastimes or your old stomping grounds. The idea is that this takes a little bit more commitment, a little bit more time, and perhaps where you guys each take turns on what you will be doing from one month to the next. Now, the next part of this dating hierarchy is a little bit more of a commitment. So this would be like your week away. This could be even just as simple as a staycation at home, but the idea is that you're both actively working on protecting that time, organizing everything that needs to be done so that it's not going to impact you during that break that you do have. And so that you can be fully present and enjoying tasks that you guys like to do together or events. So when it comes to the last part of that hierarchy is the big trip. Now, whether this is the luxury of you being able to do this once a year or you do it once every 2 or 5 years, this is almost like a bucket list trip where maybe you wanted to go and travel Europe. And these typically would be where it takes more time to plan, financial commitment, may also, require more people's schedules to be adapted. Regardless, it's something that's a part of this hierarchy that you will be sprinkling in really throughout each of your times together because you're going to be planning and talking and reminiscing and dreaming about what this one particular big one is going to be for you. So the hierarchy allows you to have small commitments and bigger commitments. And either way, each of these particular connections is an opportunity for you to stay and maintain a really healthy and comfortable relationship. Now, my caveat for you here is this hierarchy isn't something that's carved in stone. You may find some weeks more dense with dates than others, but the concept is having that commitment to make the effort to do something that is slightly different from your everyday process. It takes you out of autopilot. It really does allow for you guys to spend some true time in connecting with one another. And you can even adapt something like this for the workplace with your team or even with family and friends. Okay, so let's talk about PA days and the days that your kids have off from the regular school day. What I started doing with Athena, especially when I was working with my companies for longer periods of time, and I had more than your typical 2 weeks off, is I started using my vacation days to also pair up with the days Athena had off from school. For me, I can definitely say this helped me with that mommy guilt and being able to balance both family and work life. Now, here's the reason. It was very often that I would not leave on time from work. It was like my job was really demanding, especially near the end of every month. So more often than not, I left late from work, which means I was taking time away from family and giving it back to work. And ways that I found that could balance this out was taking these days off with Athena. And it gave me time to look forward to, because typically every month or every month and a half, I would have a day off. And these were days that I completely guarded, where it wasn't about being on the cell phones. There was no work whatsoever in part of this. None of the chores from the household were ever done. I never did laundry during that time or took care of grocery shopping. This was a day that was just for me and her. We would sit and plan out what we would like to do on that day. We enjoyed the luxury of getting up leisurely instead of having to get up and race out the door to make it to work and school on time. And these were days that we both started looking forward to. And in fact, I found that I started to take this and do this even within her high school years as well. Now, college, well, she's moved away from home, so that has changed immensely. And of course, she's definitely got her own social life. However, I still reference back to some of the things that we did on those days off, like going to the zoo, having picnics at the park. Again, it was an opportunity for me to really reconnect and stay connected with what was important in her world. So that could be a tactic and something that you try using, even if it's just a couple of days that you think that would be really ideal for you to be off. It doesn't have to be the whole schedule for the school year. Okay, so as promised, I am also going to hold a space for that solopreneur and entrepreneur. This can also be really applicable for you too if you have any side hustles as well. And I would probably say for the working parent that stays home, oh my dear, I would say that you are an entrepreneur in so many unique ways too. So here's a couple of things that work well for me in helping ensure that I protect my time and I'm working really efficient in my work hours, but also really able to enjoy my downtime as well. So I actually have a 4-day work week. What that means is those particular 4 days are dedicated and open to client sessions. Now, I do have a 5th day of work, which is optional depending on the demands of my particular workload that I have going on. But that 5th day is typically a quiet day, meaning I don't have any meetings or any client sessions. And it is specifically dedicated to creative work and block work that I can use towards big projects that are really important and demand undivided attention and minimal interruptions. Another tactic that I also do is that I actually start all of my coaching sessions later in my day, which means I don't book any meetings or client sessions typically until after 11 a.m. in the morning. What that means is the time that I have before that is to take care of and tackle any urgent deadlines or responsibilities that I need to take care of. The other part to that too is my morning self-care routine comes first before I check my phone, before I start my work day. And these two things, both my self-care routine and being able to tackle any important tasks and urgent items on my list, ensures that all of those things are taken care of so that I can be fully present for the meetings and the clients that I'm about to attend. The other thing is to consider how you adapt your business to fit your needs and desires. And this could be where we're always trying to match what the client wants, which is important in some elements. But if you went out on business for yourself, there's an element there too that you're looking for that autonomy and the ability to create and do your own schedule. So the other element that is really important is I love to travel. I really enjoy being able to go and explore new areas. So with that, my coaching practice is fully virtual, which means that my clients, so long as I have reception, can enjoy and travel along with me. I also do retreats, which that too is the same concept. I can help other people explore and enjoy micro breaks or breaks away from their regular routine and use it towards taking care of themselves and focusing on just them. And I also do that through touring for my Courage to Change journal. Now, I know that was short and sweet for you entrepreneurs out there, but hey, a little bit can go a long way. And I say that for all of you guys today, no matter whether you are a stay-at-home parent or you are a 60 to 70 hour work week at work or a part-time hustler on the side doing all these other part-time gigs in your own business, you can take breaks. And in fact, it's so important for your creativity, your replenishment, your self-care to do so. And in fact, people I know in my world are like, I don't take vacations. And I was like, oh, why do you not? And a common one that I get is that it's more stressful than to come back to work with all that increased workload when they come back. And here's the one thing I would stress to you. In that case, in that element, is there any possibilities of any of those particular tasks that you could be coming back to that maybe you can hustle a little harder just before leaving to get some of them done? Maybe you can work on delegating some of those or training new individuals to help as a part of their succession planning and training that they can help take on your task and role while you're away. So another close pairing to this would also be about communication. This is going to be important, whether it is with your boss or a coworker, with your partner, even with the kids. Communicating every part of this planning process is going to be key, but it's also a great way to keep you excited and accountable to committing and sticking to the things that you're talking about. Also, sharing those memories as well. Like, why is it so important? What did you enjoy about your last micro break or your PA day off? Or about condensing your work week. How has it been beneficial for you? And again, tap these back to what's really important for you, whether it's relaxation, adventure, or reconnecting with family and friends. When you're really clear on that intention, it makes it a lot easier for you to protect that time, invest in it, and actually follow through with it. So here is my challenge for you as your coach. I want you to sit down and start planning out your vacation time. And if you didn't already see, I wrote a blog on a genius travel hack that I didn't create, but still really valuable, where you can take your 2 weeks vacation and maximize it to be up to almost 6 weeks of vacation time over a span of 1 year. Maybe you could use something like that to also adapt and include into your travel time. Now, I'd love to hear what you thought of this episode. And hey, maybe you have some other ideas too of what you would like to hear. My contact information's in the show notes below. It was so great to have you here. Honestly, I love you. I really do. Stick around. And if you need anything, I'm always here to help you out. Do you like what you hear? Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and give it a 5-star rating on Apple. Now remember, the conversation doesn't stop here. Be sure to join us in our Facebook group, Your Inner Vitality Community. We would love to hear from you. What were the golden nuggets that you took away from today's discussion? And more importantly, what actions are you going to take? Now, if you're also not a subscriber to the monthly newsletter, Finding My New Normal, make sure you also subscribe today. Don't miss out on any of the good stuff happening within this supportive community. Both of these links are available in today's show notes. And thank you again for joining us, and be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Your Inner Vitality. Remember, it's your time.